For the month of October, we continue to play with this image of Jenga through our worship services on Sundays. The bigger idea about this image of Jenga is that we were invited into a transformation. A transformation that is from feeling the tension of taking turns to make a delicate move, not to be the one to be blamed for destroying the structure. From that to a different way of playing the same game, a change in our perspective of how to play the game of Jenga. So that it's not about having a winner over a loser, having the mindset of the binary of either or, to making it about the collective effort to build a higher and better structure together. So that's the shift and transformation that we're going after. And I've been also sharing some insights from the book, The Wisdom Jesus, by Cynthia Bourgeau, whose main idea can be simplified to that what Jesus was trying to show us by his way of life of incarnation, passion, resurrection, and ascension was to model that transformation from the egoic operating system to the non-dual / unifying operating system. In short, Jesus was about transforming our operating system. And this process is by no means a quick fix, or not to mention how tough it is to do. It's more about a lifelong journey. So it's not going to happen by the time next year. It's a lifelong journey. It's a attitude. It's a perspective, right? Last Sunday, I shared my example of experiencing my inner transformation when I was visiting the Holy Land earlier this year, when I realized what my calling was, in which allowed me to realize how much I was operating under a survival mode for the past few years, to prove my abilities and my capabilities, to prove the worth of my existence, that I'm not just here for you to accept me, but I'm actually making this community better, constantly pushing myself forward towards that. And I realized that's a very consuming way of life, very, very energy draining way of life. But by remembering the sense of purpose of my call into the vision of building peace in this world, I was not just able to have a clear focus on where the promised land is and where the kingdom of heaven is and what my dream looks like, where everyone in the city of Montpelier live out the peace of Christ. That's my vision. I shared that last week. But the better piece of that experience, of that realization, is that there was a tremendous amount of liberation, that sense of liberation and joy that comes with that clarity. I want to point that out to you. Having a sense of purpose in life is a really cool thing, right? I think you may be able to relate to that to some extent. That sense of who you are and whose you are and what you are here for. Having some clarity in that, that's an awesome experience. Today, Jesus is asking that question once again to us, just in case we forgot, right? Perhaps looking into our hearts and asking, Jesus is asking, whose image is this? Whose image are you created in? And whose inscription? Whose name is written in your heart? A group of Pharisees and Herodians came over to Jesus with all the good reasons. As leaders of their people, it's understandable they had to protect their established system. If I were in their case, I would have done the very same thing. They were trying to protect their established system. Their stability was being threatened by this Jesus individual. We need to remember that this whole scene that we're talking about right now, we are still in the Holy Week. 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that this is the day after or the day after that, like Monday or Tuesday of that Holy Week, right? This is the same week when Jesus entered into the Jerusalem temple on a donkey, that Palm Sunday experience, and made the whole scene out of overturning the money-changing tables, right? That dramatic scene. And we know that in a few days, Jesus will journey towards the cross. This is that very week. So this is not a moment of casual theological debate on Facebook. This is not that moment, right? They didn't ask this trick question about taxation to debate about how much religion needs to be involved with politics. That was not their intention at all. This is an intense and very, very practical moment, a very practical and well thought out plot so that they can silence this movement that was disturbing the status quo. Of course, these religious groups like Pharisees, Herodians, Sadducees, the Zealots, and the Essenes, you name it, were not all in agreement among themselves, right? They all had different perspectives and emphasis, like today's denominations in Christian church. But they figured out a certain way to live, a system in which their disagreements and agreements were delicately weaved to live under the new norm that is called Roman Empire, while not compromising too much of their own power and control in their little local communities. Right? So let's go back a few steps to the scene where Jesus overturns the money-changing table, because it is kind of related to today's story. The reason why they needed a money-changing system, this was a system in the temple, was because according to their own Jewish law, anything with an image was not allowed. It was considered as an idol, right? So the Roman currency with the Caesar's image was not allowed in the temple as an offering. So they needed a place, a system to change that currency to the Jewish currency, which was shekel, right? And this is a very vivid example of a compromised system to survive under a new norm. And this was a crazy new norm, when you think about it, right? Where technically a foreign army comes into your land to occupy your land and asks for your money to fund that very army to continue to occupy you, right? That's a crazy idea. The idea of taxation at that time was a little bit different from today's idea of taxation. It wasn't about building new roads or filling in the potholes. It wasn't about that. But everything about it was leading towards corruption and stronger control over the powerless. It was all about that. That's the context of today's gospel. That's the context when Jesus asks the question, "Show me the coin used for paying the tax. Whose image is this? And whose inscription?" They replied, "Caesar's." Then he said to them, "So give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." To me, this answer by Jesus is about transformation. Transformation in our perspective. When they approached him with the either-or mentality, when they approached him with their own operating system that they were used to, Jesus invites them to a new, radical perspective. Cynthia Bourgeois, the book, the author of the book that I was talking about through this past 3 weeks, she talks about this binary, right? Let me read a portion from her book. Because of the binary, the finite nature of both the physical world itself and the egoic operating system we use to navigate it, it seems as though we are always bumping into sharp edges. Life presents us with a series of seemingly irrevocable choices. To do one thing means that we have to give up something else. To marry one person means we can't marry another. And to join a monastery means we can't marry at all. Our confused agendas clash both inwardly and outwardly, and we cause each other pain. Our bodies age, we diminish physically, loved ones fall out of our lives. And the force of gravity is tenacious, nailing our feet to the ground, and usually our souls as well. When I was reading this part, I could not help to think about the tension between the opposing political views among people as this country undergo this election season. Let's hear those last few words again. Our confused agendas clash both inwardly and outwardly, and we cause each other pain. Our bodies age, we diminish physically, loved ones fall out of our lives. And she continues this thought process by writing in the later part of this writing, yes, we come into constriction, but is that the same as punishment? I believe not. I believe rather that this constriction is a sacrament, and we have been offered a divine invitation to participate in it. Then the author invites us to pay attention to the quality of human character that emerges from constriction accepted with conscious forgiveness as compared to what emerges from rage and violence, and draw our own conclusions. Wait, what? What was that? That kind of just went right over my head. That's kind of hard to understand. So let me try this again, that same piece as I'm understanding. So I'll give you an illustration that might help you understand what this is about. A pastor once asked me a question. So the question was this: have you seen the Disney animation called Beauty and the Beast? I answered, yes, of course, it's a classic, right? Good. Do you remember the scene where the beast transforms into a prince? Oh yes, I do remember that scene. I was as I'm wondering where this question and answer was leading to. He said, good. Then, do you remember exactly when the transformation happens? That exact moment when the transformation happens. And I was speechless because I was trying to dig into my memory of trying to kind of remember the details of that scene. He waited a little bit and then he answered for me. The transformation happens when the drop of Belle's tears touches the body of the beast. That's when the transformation happens. And that's what Christian life is about. That's when the sharp edges are softened, when our tears touch the life of others. Our journey is not about winning. Our journey is not about blaming who misplaced the brick in the Jenga tower. Our Christian journey is to transform our own operating system, to be able to see the world through the tears of love. That's what our journey is about. And Brujao describes our tears as the most profound product of this world. Tear is the most profound product of this world. In today's gospel reading, the part that I reflected again and again was the very last verse, which reads, which is a sentence that starts with, when they heard this, when they heard Jesus replying. It doesn't say that they were angry because they lost this game and their plan completely failed to put Jesus in trouble. It doesn't say that they were anxious because they were worried about all the disruption that they were worried about in first place, right? It doesn't say that they were afraid because they were going to get punished when they go back to their people, right? But it says they were amazed. Isn't that surprising? They were amazed. And I wonder, at least for the few of them who encountered Jesus that day, then they might have experienced a transformation of expanding their worldview, enlightened with the transformation of an operating system that they never imagined about before. So I pray, my prayer is that through each one of our lives who are gathered this morning, as our ice melts and begins to flow, as our tears, offering and sharing our vulnerable selves with each other, I strongly believe, through each one of our tears, this world, this community of Montpelier, this community of Central Vermont will experience that transformation that Jesus Christ is inviting us into. Amen.